everybody. Welcome to Invisible Condition. It's not all in your head. Okay. I'm your host, Jeff Pearson, and we created this show. We created this show for you because we want everybody with an invisible condition to know beyond the shadow of a doubt that they have a voice, they have a community, and they're not alone. So by the way, I'm super excited about this. Welcome to season 2, everybody. This is the first episode of our second season, and I'm so thankful. I'm so grateful to all of you that have watched over the first season and continue to watch today. I'm so thankful for all of you, and tell your friends. This has been such a blast, and I've gotten to meet so many amazing people, and I'm so grateful to be here and to be able to spend this time with you. So thank you. And let's kick off season 2 with an amazing guest. And he is, his name is Adam Riley. And Adam, where is it? Where'd it go? There it is. Adam is a world traveler, which I love. I'm kind of a world traveler. I've been to a few countries, but this guy is legit. He's world traveler, entrepreneur, originally from New Zealand. He's suffered heavily from various forms of anxiety throughout his life and has always been dedicated to finding a way to be free and from the anxiety, right? And he's the founder of Heal Your Anxiety and creator of the Anxiety Relief Protocol. Doesn't that sound nice? Just say it. Anxiety Relief Protocol. It just sounds awesome. A revolutionary new process that gives you immediate relief from anxiety, whatever, wherever you are, no matter what you're doing, whatever the anxiety is about, relief. He gives this protocol away for free, which is awesome. And it's his mission and passion to share this knowledge with the world. I can't wait for you to meet him. Let's bring him on. Welcome, Adam.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for such a wonderful introduction.
I was so glad to. I know we met a while ago. It's been a little bit, but I couldn't wait to get you on the show, and I'm glad we landed on a date and we're able to do this because this is something that everybody. I mean, whether you have an invisible condition like something outside of anxiety that you deal with that contributes to your anxiety, or not, this is going to be a huge show for so many people. It's going to be so valuable. So just out of curiosity, though, just before we kick this off, you have been everywhere. Like you're from Lisbon. You're from New Zealand. You were in Portugal. Now you're in Romania, Bucharest, Romania. So you get around a little.
I do.
Which I'm kind of not going to lie. I'm a little jealous. My traveling days are over for now. I did that back when I was.
Don't say that, Jeff. Don't say that.
Back when I was a teenager, I did it more. How about that? I'll do it more.
Yeah,
again.
Different kind of traveling.
Yeah, traveling is amazing. So what's your favorite place you've been so far, and why?
That's always the hardest question. It's always the place I'm in. It's always the place I'm in.
Nice.
It's hard to have favorites, but I can say I love to be by the sea,
There you go.
Like I love places by the sea. I love to be in nature. And cool. I enjoy cities sometimes too.
Yeah. I tell you, I think my favorite time, I took a year after high school and just traveled the world with a music group. And I think probably one of my favorites, the one that always keeps bubbling to the top is Antwerp, Belgium. So that's probably one of my favorite cities on earth is Antwerp, and there's a couple in Switzerland that are pretty cool too. But I've never really been by the sea over in Europe or Eastern Europe or anything. So that would be beautiful.
Yeah, I haven't been to Antwerp, but I was in Ghent recently, which I'd never heard of before.
I love that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So quaint and little rivers and bridges and beautiful old buildings. It's so pristinely looked after and incredible waffles.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I was just in Costco the other day and saw like in a package those big fluffy waffles, and I saw one in a package, and I thought, well, surely it's not the same. But man, did it bring the memories back, because those were waffles. Now I'm hungry. Okay,
pretty special.
all right. Now I really want a waffle.
Better change topic.
So
just gonna have to go eat.
No, I know exactly. So, well, and since you're in Romania and I'm in the United States, in Colorado, there's a pretty good time difference right now. So it's 10 o'clock where I am. And what did you say? It's 6, it's almost 7 o'clock. It's 7 o'clock.
It's 7 o'clock. Yeah. 7 p.m.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
So I'm having breakfast and you're having dinner. All right.
Yeah. I'll have dinner soon. Yeah.
This is great. This is awesome. I love the internet sometimes, right?
Incredible.
So tell me, speaking of world travel, tell me about your journey that, took you from New Zealand, becoming the world traveler, becoming the entrepreneur. What kind of kicked that off?
Well, becoming a world traveler, really, I think I've always been a traveler. Like as a kid with my mother, we moved around a lot. And once I left home, which I left home fairly early, I just naturally continued to move around. I actually, like many travelers, don't see their own country first. I actually went around and lived in most parts of New Zealand. But as some people might know, it's quite small. It's not quite as big as Lord of the Rings makes out. And eventually you run out of places to go. So literally, I think just at one point, I'm like, well, I might as well leave, That was 18 years ago. And I've obviously been back. I go back to visit family. But yeah, I just started traveling, and I've spent I was in Europe for about 4 years. I spent most of my time in Latin America, like 12 years or something, a bit in Asia. Wow. And I've had times where I've stayed still, like for, in a country up to 5 years. But I end up getting itchy feet again. And right now I'm in a kind of, quite nomadic phase, which I'm enjoying.
That's awesome. When you can pull that off, it's beautiful. I have a feeling it would be a little tougher with the situation I'm in with being married with 3 teenagers. I don't know. That seemed like that would complicate things for travel, but it hopefully not to the point that we don't go again soon, because it would be super fun. And to be able to show the kids, what I've experienced around the world and stuff would be cool too. So I totally get it. And talking to you today, just even this little bit so far, I'm like, okay, where are we going next? We got to go somewhere.
Yeah. If I can inspire people to travel, I'm always happy.
Absolutely, man. I love it. So when did you first realize, speaking of like with your entrepreneurial and I mean, kind of the entrepreneurial is kind of what you used to turn this anxiety into something that's going to be helpful and productive for other people. So when did you figure that out? When did you first realize that your anxiety was a problem and needed to be addressed? First of all, when did that hit you first?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I'm 41 years old now. Mm-hmm. And for, let's say, 38, 39, or up until I was that age, I didn't call it anxiety, right? I didn't have that word for it. I just had these periods where I would have, this horrible feeling come over me and take over my system, and I didn't know what it was or what to do about it, and I had no control, Mm-hmm. Or like, because a lot of my anxiety was social anxiety, so in social situations I would get really triggered. And it stopped me from having the kind of connections that I would love to have, And I didn't call it anxiety. It's funny when you say invisible condition, because this is not exactly the way you use the word. But for me, it brings up like it was an invisible condition in the sense I didn't even call it anxiety. And I really think that out there are many people that would not even think that they have anxiety, but what they're feeling can be classified as anxiety. It could be, and it can be helped by the things that help anxiety, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And going back to at about 39, I started to work closely with a coach called Daniel Packard, who had his own like very special, unique tools, and he was helping people with anxiety, and they were uh, just having incredible results. And I started to use them on myself, and I started to helping him. I started to realize, oh, this is anxiety. It's like this. Now I have a name for it, and through him I started to get an understanding of what it was. Um, and yeah, like I don't know if you want me to talk about that already, but like it was through that process of meeting him and using his tools on myself and kind of diving very deeply into myself. Before that, I had been like in a very deep spiritual journey, you could say, like doing a lot of yoga and meditation, all kinds of stuff. And that helped a little bit. I really think all the things I did, I was always trying to fix this problem, whether it be called anxiety or not.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I got used to going deep inside myself through the spiritual practices, and then combining what he was teaching me, going very deeply when I had anxiety, pulling it apart. I kind of found the core principles that were helping, that he was doing, that helped me. And I don't know, just somehow found, what we'll talk about, probably the protocol, which is these 3 simple things that you can do.
Yeah.
Specifically when you have anxiety, because the problem with anxiety is that it's a very strong stimulus. So it's hard to remember what to do, or to even be able to do a lot of the things that you're meant to do.
Yes.
So yeah, I'll
Yeah.
stop
Well,
there.
and we'll get to that protocol. I think I have a question or two about that after our break, because I want people to come back for that in the second segment. So we're going to dive into that too, for sure.
Perfect.
But just while I've got the audience here, anybody out there that's watching right now, or watches this on demand after this live broadcast is over, I pointed the wrong direction. This is your guy right here. This is I'm pointing the wrong direction. Adam, he is the guy you want to talk to. And so if you catch us on the live broadcast, great. You can chime in on the chat, and we can maybe, we can help you. But even if you don't, there's information in the episode information that you can reach out to him, and he can help you that way as well. So and we'll talk a little bit more about that later in the show. But you mentioned in your bio about various forms of anxiety. What are some of the forms of anxiety that, I always thought just anxiety. There's different forms. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so there's many kinds of anxiety, and it's like, okay, I can list off some of the main ones. For me, I already mentioned social anxiety. So that would be, anxiety about social situations, talking in front of groups, even public speaking counts as social anxiety for me. Talking to somebody that you admire, asking for what, there's all kinds of dynamics within that. I even consider neediness anxiety, which is, codependency, neediness, jealousy. I would consider them forms of anxiety, which are very important in relationships. Health anxiety, so health issues, and this is relevant to this show, because people who have some kind of say an invisible condition, or any kind of health issue, they'll usually get some anxiety. We talked about this before. They'll usually get some kind of anxiety with it, right? Where because their life is all of a sudden shifting and it's not the way they hoped, that's hard. And it's normal for it to be hard, but different people take it in different ways. Some people take that better than others. And it's quite common to get anxiety about health problems, in which case it's worth investigating, because it just doesn't help the problem. It's like a problem on top of a problem. So that's the unfortunate thing. You have OCD, counts as a form of anxiety. PTSD, which is a very extreme kind of anxiety. They say general anxiety, which I don't know, just
We got to throw that one in
for
there, man.
everything. Yeah, exactly. just to catch all the loose ends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Those are some of the main ones.
okay, great. Yeah, everybody, you hear about OCD and different stuff like that. Sometimes I forget that that's an anxiety. I forget to associate that with anxiety, but you're absolutely right. That's a big one. So we're going to go to a break. Believe it or not, we're going to go to a break in about 2 or 3 minutes. But before we go, can you remember and maybe talk about briefly that, like, a pivotal moment, if you had such a moment, that you realized the anxiety relief protocol needed to be shared with the world? Like, this is that you put that together and was like, we got to get this out there. What was that moment?
Yeah, I think there was a beautiful moment where I first kind of stumbled upon the actual 3 steps, which was once I started to go out on my own after working with Daniel. I had a client who was working with me who had agoraphobia, and it was actually through trying to share what I'd been working on in me with her. She was afraid of public places. She was afraid of public transport and even going to the supermarket, right? And I just was like, okay, so my thing was, okay, so what do I give her for when she goes? This is something in action, right? She needs to go out and do something, and she needs when the anxiety starts, what should she do? And the main thing, I won't say it yet, I had one core element, and then the other two, they just kind of came with it. And I gave it to her, and she used it, and straight away, like, she told me the next session, she went to the supermarket, she was in the aisle, she felt like a panic attack coming. I measure anxiety from 1 to 10, 10 strong, 1 low.
Mm-hmm.
And she was like, it was like an 8 out of 10 anxiety. And I stopped in the aisle and I did the protocol, and it dropped down, to, like, I don't know, maybe a 3 or a 4. I don't remember the exact numbers, but, it dropped down enough for her to be out of the danger zone, out of trouble, and back in control. And that's really the first beautiful thing that the anxiety relief protocol can do, is just get you out of trouble when you have a very strong experience. Yeah.
That is awesome. I love that. That actually reminds me of something, but I don't want to get into it right now because we're going to go to a break. But I might even talk to you about it after the show, because I think I just thought of somebody you might want to talk to that you could maybe partner with on something if you wanted to. So I'm gonna write that down during the break. But all right, everybody. Yeah, time flies. We're already at the end of this first segment. This is such good information, but we gotta go to a break, and then we'll come right back, and we're gonna talk more about that protocol, because that's what you guys need to hear about, is this anxiety relief protocol, because it's awesome. So here we go. We're gonna do that, and we'll be right back in a couple of minutes. We'll see you soon.
Eva Black Occurrence here, and I am the host of One Punch Superstars, where we meet real people who chose to fight for their hopes and their dreams and become the champions of their destiny. You can find us on Achieve TV every Tuesday and Wednesday at noon Mountain Standard Time, right here on E360 TV.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. Adam, let's talk about it, man. We anxiety relief protocol. Like, even just saying it kind of is like, it's like the hope of relief, it's like, because once you're in that anxiety space, it's kind of a spiral downward if you're not careful. So yeah, actually, let me think here for a second. Because there's physical and emotional and physical components to anxiety, right? So does the protocol address both?
Yes,
or how
it does.
Address both?
It totally addresses both. It's a good question. I've never been asked it quite that way before. For me to say how, I would have to talk about the steps.
Let's
really.
do it. Yeah.
Yeah?
Sure.
Okay. Sure. So, well, actually, I can say something. This is really important for me to say, like, to preface, because when I give the steps, it's like you have to know why it works a little bit.
Yeah.
And what you're doing here really is, we quite naturally know how to care for somebody else when they're in emotional pain. And I give the example of a child, and this teaching actually comes from the inner child teaching. I teach it in a different way, but Daniel's work was based on inner child. And the way we would care for a child, when they're in emotional pain, that comes very naturally to us. We at least know what to do, even if we don't do it all the time. We know that if a child comes to us, the first thing that we do is we turn towards it. We don't turn away, because if you turn away, it's ignoring, and that's going to make them feel worse. So you turn towards if they're expressing themselves. I give the example. Imagine a child comes to you that's had a nightmare, right? And they want to tell you about their bad dream. It doesn't matter so much about what they're saying, but you would be there and listen to them, right? And you would just allow them to express. And usually you would tell them it's okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So actually, what I just said, those are the 3 steps of the protocol in a very simple way. I can spend hours talking about each one and why it works and why it's so deep and powerful. But it's just that. It's being able to show up inside of yourself, for yourself, the way you would for a child who's in pain. Yeah. Because ultimately you need the same things when you or I or anybody is in emotional pain. When we have the same underlying needs, which is attention, to be heard, and to be like compassion, to be accepted and comforted, etc. And these things work for everybody, because we all have these fundamental needs. And especially when you're in emotional pain, these are the things you need. Always.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I see that working on a one-on-one type of situation where you're sitting eyeball to eyeball with somebody across from you, and you're helping them with this and talking them through it. How does that work? Like with the example that you gave with the person in the supermarket, she's by herself. So how do you do that for yourself?
That's really the beauty of this protocol, right?
Yeah.
Because the other thing is, like, well, firstly, we need to realize that we do have a relationship inside of ourselves. There is a relationship, different people see this differently, but let's say between your awareness and your experience being your thoughts and emotions. So if we just kind of, we can drop into that relationship at any point. So we have this relationship with ourselves happening all the time inside, and we're able to do the same thing for ourselves that we would for somebody else in the outside world, right? Just knowing that we can do that is already an insight, because we can.
Yeah.
The difficult thing is that, firstly, how, and even more how when you are experiencing extreme anxiety. And that's why it's a protocol, and it's 3 steps, and you need to train yourself on them in, let's say, less extreme conditions, so that when you have the extreme condition of a higher level of anxiety, you're more likely to remember it and do it. And it's also like the steps are so easy and so simple that you could, no matter how strong the anxiety is,
Yeah.
well, no one has ever said I couldn't do it.
That's good.
I've had extremely high levels of emotional pain, and I've been able to do these 3 things. You can do them. Yeah.
Well, I don't want to give away the farm or anything, so we don't necessarily have to go through the steps. But I mean, I know you say you give it away, but
I'm fine with going with. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, if you want me to share, I'm totally happy to.
We can, maybe we can do that in just a minute. But I was just curious. I wanted to just dive in a little bit about this because to give people an idea of how, what we can use this for. So, I mean, there's important, specific techniques that you use or that you've learned, right? Like you learned these techniques from, like, what was the name of the person that you mentioned earlier? The
Daniel Packard.
Yes. Yeah. So there's been coaches and teachers and stuff in the past that you've kind of learned this from, which is really cool, because that means that other people can learn what this is. It's like you've had to, it's all about other people's experiences, contributing to that success of that protocol. So reducing anxiety for people, would it work for like a young, how young could you use this for? Like, could you use this for, you're talking about a child. Would this be handy for, valuable for somebody like a younger person, like in their teenage years, starting to go through all the puberty stuff and all the crazy stuff that happens there? Is that a real good target for that kind of thing?
You know what? First, I'll be totally honest that I haven't worked with teenagers or children. But I feel confident that it would be fantastic tool for them, because it's very easy, it's very gentle, it's very simple. And remembering back to being a teenager with extreme anxiety, I wish I had this protocol. My God, like I wish I had this from if I look back like 12, 13 years old. I wish,
right? If only,
Totally.
right? Hindsight's 2020.
Yeah.
So looking forward a little bit, is this well, I guess I should ask this first then. So what group do you typically work with? What age group do you work with?
So right now, I am kind of not niching down in any way, if that makes sense. So I'm kind of just putting this protocol out, and it's not a very good marketing strategy because normally you want to niche down and have your target audience, and I will in the future. Like I would like to eventually work with specifically like social anxiety, because that's been my specific anxiety. But what I've found is that this protocol, it really works for all anxiety, and it's the truth. Like I say, if it's thoughts and emotions, if your anxiety is thoughts and emotions, like this will help. And I believe personally it'll help, probably more than most things you've ever done. And it's that powerful. And so I'm just right now like I'm just being very general. Like if you have anxiety, try this protocol. I give it for free, you know, and then later I will be more specific on, you know, uh, ages or target audiences, etc. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Are you so since you're still kind of narrowing that down, I wonder if this question will be a good one or not, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. As far as, so obviously this has evolved over time when you know, with the things that you've learned and you to put it together, you know, what role do you hope the anxiety relief protocol will play in kind of that evolution of anxiety relief? You know, like there's so much out there that people are using. Do you see this being kind of an important part of that?
That's a great question. I love it. So this is really, to me, I really see this as like I want this to be a household name. And I believe I want it because I believe it should be. And, you know, when I say I help people with anxiety and I have a protocol, the first thing they ask me is it a breathing exercise? Right. And second, if they know a bit more, will be like, is it CBT? And, you know, in 10 years' time, when somebody says that they have a new thing for anxiety, I want them to say, you know, is it ARP? Is it the anxiety relief protocol? Because it's that good. You know, in my own esteem, I believe it's at least that good. Yeah.
Well, and you believe it's that good because you've had results with it, right? You've had amazing results with people using it, like the supermarket, with the person in the supermarket that you were talking about. Do you have more stories like that? I'd love to hear. I mean, tell me.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'm you know, sharing this a lot, and I'm getting messages every day now.
Yeah.
You know, people are trying it. It works straight away. So I'm getting a lot of people just saying, yeah, I've tried this, and like straight away made me feel better. I have a great example of a guy who went through with me, and he was the most diligent person I've had of, because I get people to record. I really like to take data and record your anxiety levels as you go through. So he did a 3-week program with me, which is a predecessor to the 1-month program that I'm doing right now, for people to integrate the protocol. And he did it, and every day he did it 3 times, and he recorded his anxiety levels before and after doing the protocol and took notes. And he was suffering with, like, he had general anxiety. He had anxiety, like health, family, COVID, like all these things that were happening at once.
Yeah.
And his health was, he had high blood pressure. And he was in this bad cycle where his anxiety would trigger his blood pressure to go higher, which would trigger more anxiety, which would trigger it to go higher. And it was kind of this, you know, like downward, upward spiral or whatever, you know, like a feedback loop. And he did this. Within 3 days, his anxiety had measurably dropped 60%. Right. Wow. And I have a video testimonial, and then like the rest of the 21 days, it just kept getting lower and lower until he's like, yeah, I feel like some low level anxiety sometimes, but basically it's gone. And not only that, but as he was doing it, his anxiety would go down, his blood pressure would go down. His anxiety would go down, his blood pressure would go down. So the opposite was happening. So it was having an effect on his body, you know,
health,
on his health directly, which is amazing. Yeah.
Man, is there, so, because I can imagine that, I mean, anxiety is not good for anybody in any situation, really. I mean, unless it's the fight or flight thing. I mean, that's the only time.
Unless you really have a tiger running after you, you know. Well, actually, if I can say something, like we connect anxiety mostly with fear. It's one way of looking at it. But if you talk to people with anxiety, they'll kind of mix all the uncomfortable emotions in there a lot of the time. Fear, sadness, frustration, anger, confusion, feeling lost, alone. So all these things kind of come together sometimes. And just something of my view of anxiety is that all of these emotions, including fear, have like a calibrated amount that's beneficial to us in navigating our life. We need our emotions. We even enjoy our emotions,
Yeah.
But it's when, if people didn't like fear, they wouldn't go to horror movies or go on roller coasters, jump out of planes, right?
Right.
We enjoy our fear, but it's when it's like overwhelming or when it's out of proportion to the amount that is needed for that situation that it really starts to have a negative effect on our life. And that's when I start to call it anxiety, basically.
Because that's a good point. Because there is a healthy anxiety. I don't know. You say anxiety is the negative term, but it's sometimes there's a healthy amount of fear. Like if you're gonna go speak to a crowd of 10,000 people, there's butterflies in your stomach. You're nervous. You should be. You want
to prepare a good speech. Exactly.
So that's the good side of it. And so in that case, you get out there, the first minute or two might be a little rocky, but you get your groove on and you're good to go, and then it goes away. But you're talking about the stuff that takes over, like the anxiety that like debilitates you and prevents you from doing things.
Yeah, like if you're public speaking, I mean, 10,000 people's extreme might be hard for people to relate to, but even public speaking in front of 10 people, that's still important, like fear, what it does is it brings your attention to what's important. And talking in front of 10 people is important. These 10 people are going to give you their time and attention, and they are going to have an opinion of you one way or the other. We don't want to need other people's we don't want to need other people's approval, but it's okay to want it. It's still important. And so if we have a little quote unquote anxiety or nervousness, we're going to take time to prepare our speech. We're going to take time to, hopefully we're going to be more likely to prepare ourselves and give a good speech. If we didn't have any fear, we'd just turn up and like we wouldn't even care if we even talked or not. We could sit there eating, like what does it matter? But if you go in to do this and you're like sick to the stomach for a week before, or when you go you can't speak, so this is having a negative impact on your life, and it doesn't have to even be that strong. It could just be like I say, like anytime, for me, I have quite a unique view of anxiety. I say anytime that anxiety is triggered, anytime you're triggered, this is anxiety. Anytime you feel triggered, that's anxiety. And that's my view of it. And it's a good view in the sense that you can look at that, and whenever you're triggered, you know that you can use this word anxiety, and then you know what to do, which is the anxiety relief protocol. So you know immediately what to do whenever you're triggered.
Yeah. No, I love that. And I remember I heard you say something that was cool, and then we're going to go to our last break here in a second. But people's opinion is it's good to want it, but it's bad to fear it. Is that pretty much encapsulated? Like it's okay to want that opinion and because it's healthy, because you want to do a good job.
Yeah.
But yeah,
exactly. I personally try and steer away from good and bad, but I like healthy and unhealthy would be my wording. Like, it's healthy, and desire, in my view, is great. Wanting things is great, but when we need something, what it does is it puts us in a compromising position, because need means that we're not okay until we get it. When you want something, you want it, but if you don't get it, it's okay. You're okay. But need means if you don't get it, you're not okay. And that's not the position you want to be in with it's definitely any social situation or relationship dynamic.
That is 100%. That is so well put. Yeah. I'm now you've got my mind reeling. I'm thinking, going, okay, yeah, all right. Thinking through situations now, going, okay, yep, that's need, that's want, yep, okay,
Yeah.
man, that's good stuff. You gotta write that stuff down, man. Holy cow, that's good.
Yeah. Future workshops and trainings coming up on that one.
Seriously,
It's a great thing to ask yourself, do I want this or do I need it?
yeah,
You know?
that's huge.
And just it's a great question to ask yourself
Oh man,
and see where you're at on anything.
I love it. I'm gonna write that down while we're on this last break, because that's awesome. I'm gonna put that on a sticky note and put it right on the big whiteboard in front of me here. So we're gonna go to one last break, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna talk about the most important thing, which is hope, which is important for anybody, but especially when you're it's nice to have hope when you're in an anxious situation too. So we're gonna talk about that on the other side of the break, and we'll see you all there in a couple minutes. Right. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back, Adam. This has been good. Just that last little bit you said at the that last little nugget you gave me at the last segment has been worth the whole show so far. That's awesome. Might need to ask you about that again, because that was good stuff. Say that one more time. Wanting is good. Wanting is healthy. Needing is
Needing puts you in a compromising position. So I think what I said was, when you need something, it means that you're not okay unless you have it, right?
yeah.
So that's what needing is. Like, we need the things, like if we need water, we're not okay if we don't have water. And even with the protocol, the thing we don't understand is emotional needs, right? We need attention. We need to be heard. We need to be accepted. We need these things. It's not just a want. We need them. Otherwise, we suffer and we have anxiety. These kind of needs are underneath. Need, if we don't get it, we will suffer. That's what it means. And so when you need something, when you need somebody else's approval, you're putting yourself in a position where if they don't give it to you, you'll suffer, which is a very unstable position to be in. As I said, I prefer not to judge good and bad, but it's just unstable, because that means that if they give you your attention, you're going to feel good. But if they take it away, you'll feel bad. You'll feel uncomfortable. You'll feel compromised, And so you don't want to need it, because then you're at their mercy. But it's okay to want it. We want to connect. We want people to like us. Like, this is a really important distinction to make. That it was huge for me too. Like, to realize that wanting people to like me is okay, you know,
Yeah.
wanting attention is okay, but needing it is not good for me, basically.
And you're basically giving up all control of your emotions to the other person. If you say you need their approval, or you need their fill in
Yeah.
the blank, but if that's giving the control of that situation to somebody else, which can increase anxiety, I would imagine, probably.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you're putting your well-being under their responsibility in a way, and they can feel that immediately, which is what neediness is, and why neediness puts people off, right? Neediness in a
Yeah.
relationship, neediness in any situation, because what it is exactly that. Neediness is the person internal strategies saying, I need you, I need some kind of attention from you for me to feel okay. And the other person feels that immediately like a suck, you know? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't just hang out with this person and leave. They need this from me, you
Yeah.
know? And that's immediately like person wants to move away because they don't want to, they like, it's like they're being drawn into a contract that they haven't signed up for, you know?
Yeah.
That makes
Well, and
sense.
that could also be like if you get somebody that's like like a narcissistic person or a manipulative person could really take advantage of that, and then that's really sending you down the spiral too, because then they're playing on that,
Yes,
and then
exactly.
so if you have control over that, then if you are in a relationship with somebody like that, you could probably handle it better too.
That's a very good point. That's the other side of the dynamic. You'll either push people away or attract the wrong people. You know, you'll attract some kind of a mirror that is going to be that person for you, but in a like unhealthy way. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, only reason I thought of that is because I know people that have been in those situations, and I'm listening to what you're saying and thinking, oh my gosh, if only they had heard that 10 years ago,
Yeah.
they could have saved themselves from that situation or that relationship, that sent them down that spiral. So
Yeah.
yeah. But so despite all that, I mean, you have had quite a journey, and leading up to this, you've had a lot of anxiety that has prompted that all this amazing things that have come out of that. But day to day, despite all the anxiety, despite all the craziness out there, how do you, Adam, find hope?
Well, it's a great question. I really love that the question and this aspect of the show. I really love that. And really, I feel like my message is a message of hope because I remember, uh, for most of my life, having anxiety, having this horrible feeling coming over me, totally debilitating me often, destroying my relationships,
Yeah.
uh, slashing my dreams,
Right.
and I really felt like it was that there was something wrong with me and that I was broken in a way that couldn't be fixed. This is what I thought,
Yeah.
there's something that there's something wrong and I have no idea what it is, but I'm always going to be like this. And this is till I die. And
Mm.
a horrible feeling. That was a hopeless feeling, right? And I
Yeah.
remember when I understood what was going on and I had these tools, even if, because anxiety is different for everyone, but for me in particular, it's not something just from, I figured this out and from one day to the next, I don't have anxiety anymore. It's more like I know what to do when it comes, and over time it gets less and less and less and less. And that for me is the hope because I can see the trajectory that every day I feel better. The work that I do, like with the protocol every day, whenever any anxiety comes, whenever any strong emotion, uncomfortable emotion comes, whenever I'm triggered, you know, and I do this, I'm actually healing myself. So this is really the interesting thing about the protocol. I call it the anxiety relief protocol, but my project is heal your anxiety because you continue with this over time. You don't, relief in the moment is great. That's important.
Yes.
But what you really want is to be healing it so that it is with the same trigger or the same thing, it's less and less and less and less over time until you barely, either it's just not a big deal or you don't even feel it anymore. That's what is possible. And that's kind of my message of hope. You're not broken in a way that can't be fixed. Like there's a way out.
Yes. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that site that I just put up there is that protocol, correct?
Exactly. So healyyouranxiety.org/ARP for anxiety relief protocol. And that is the free training. So there's a free training, there's a meditation. There's a couple of things in there all for free to get started straight away. So I really dive into the protocol more deeply and into the steps. And this kind of guided practice is so that if you have anxiety, you could go in and just listen and follow along to that. And that would help bring your anxiety down like in a couple of minutes.
That's amazing. And what is the best way for people to most directly reach you if they say that I'm definitely going to do the protocol, check it out, but I want more. I want to work with you. How do we do that?
Yeah. So after the protocol, I offer a 1-month program, which is really about integrating this into people's lives so that they get the most out of it. Because the thing is, you need to train it. It will help straight away. But the most common thing that I hear from people who've just taken the training and who's just learned the protocol but didn't like train on it is, I should do it more. It's like, I know I have this thing that works and I'm not doing it. Right. And basically the one time for sure that it's not going to work is when you don't do it. And also, and when you have strong anxiety, it's even more unlikely that you're going to remember to do it. So it's really important to make this a practice, it's something that you want to train and be able to do. Like it's a life skill. It's like health routine for inside, it's things you need. Like you drink water, you're going to drink water forever. Once you learn to do this, you want to continue to do this forever. And it's just going to continue to improve your life. Yeah.
Love it. It's phenomenal. I'm so excited to go check it out. And I mean, it's good for everybody. So I can't wait. And everybody, this, I'm going to take it down, but don't worry. It's on the show, the notes on the broadcast. So you can access it anytime. Just go to Facebook, YouTube, or E360 TV. It'll be there. Thank you, Adam, for being here. We're already out of time, but I am so thankful that you were able to be here and share this with us. And we might have to come back because I'm sure we didn't cover everything we needed to. So we'll maybe do this again. And thank you so much for being here.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. I really appreciate you having me on the show. Love your show. And thank you for having me. I'll be happy to come back.
Awesome. All right. Thank you. Okay, everybody. Wow, we're already out of time. I can't. It blows my mind. So thank you for watching. Please go to Facebook and YouTube and E360. Like, follow, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Next show, Norman Wasserman and Lori Landine they're gonna be teaming up. Lori, you might remember, as a previous guest. She's gonna be teaming up with Norman. They are going to be talking about, despite her invisible condition, they have teamed up to help others, especially with nonprofit organizations. You're going to love this. It's going to be amazing. Friday, October 6th will be that show. I can't wait to see you then. Until then, have an amazing day. We'll see you again.